Hello everybody, welcome back to Season 2, Episode 6, also known as Episode 565, on the CaffiNation podcast called Pizza Rewards and Cybersecurity Nightmares. You can find us on
www.CaffiNation.com. That's CaffiNation.com, in case you couldn't spell, because we couldn't. Or, well, I couldn't. My daughter probably would have spelled it correctly. But in case you didn't know, the CaffiNation website is actually spelled incorrectly. So there you go, and here we are. So we got a great show lined up for you today. Unfortunately, this is not going to be the best show that you've ever heard. The best show you've ever heard was one you're never going to hear, because on Sunday night, Amber and I spent 45 minutes going over all of the same material, and when we got out and tried to create the MP3, everything was blown out. It sounded like, Transformers.
Not even just that, it sounded like everything was at the top of your eardrums, and you couldn't you couldn't hear what anyone was saying.
Yeah, it was really bad. The audio was clipping. It was a nightmare. So, and the fun thing about it was after we checked when everything was done, we're like, oh, maybe we can salvage some of it. There was only 3 minutes at the beginning of the show that didn't have the issues. So what are we going to be talking about today? We're not going to be talking about audio issues. We're going to be talking about the wonderful world of Lego, one of my fond memories from childhood, BookIt. We're also going to go over manga, comics, geeky cartoons even, Dinosaurs, Roblox, King Midas. Oh my, we have a full show lined up for you today. So what's the first... Oh wait, I'm sorry. Almost got ahead of myself. Amber, what did you do, Geeky, this week?
This week, I started a dissection in biology. And funny enough, out of my group, it was me and this other girl who were the only people able to actually touch the frog without caring. So that was kind of fun. What about you, Dad?
What have I done, Geeky, this week? Well, I've been trying to fix the mixer that we got here, and hopefully it's going to work the entirety of the show. But I've been doing a lot of research in work, and one of these times I'm going to write an article all about it, but there's so much going on out there that the big reason we called this Cybersecurity Nightmares is the geeky thing that you need to understand. I'm not even going to go into all of the explanation that I did previously, but let's just suffice it to say, if you have an operating system, either on your desktop or on a server you control or anything else, make sure you are keeping up to date with your patches. It's not enough to do it every little while. It has to be almost daily, because with people using AI security research tools, they are finding vulnerabilities in all Linux installations, in all PC installations, even some in Mac. It has been pretty bad for the past, I'd say, month and a half. So if you got a system, patch your system, you'll be good. All right, moving right along, one step closer to reality. Bring me the dinosaurs. What does that mean? Paleontology rocked by discovery of organic molecules in a 66-million-year-old dinosaur bone. So what they did was they cut a dinosaur bone in half, a nice thick dinosaur bone, and instead of fossilized rock... not fossilized rock. Instead of rock, which is fossilized organic matter, they actually found organic matter. So we are one step closer to Jurassic Park being real, because some goofball scientist is going to say, hey, I want a T-Rex for my backyard. So, Amber, what do you think about that? Do you think there's 7 movies and maybe we shouldn't do it?
Yeah, you don't want to be caught on the toilet.
Yeah, but I mean, hey, that's a good place for lawyers, right? All right.
Sure.
Moving right along. What's the next story we got up there, Amber?
The next story we have is about Jujutsu Kaisen, which I didn't know it was JJK, but yeah.
Because Jujutsu Kaisen is like a mouthful to say, so people like my son and a lot of people online just shorten it to JJK.
I call it the full thing.
That's okay. You can be official. So what's happening with JJK?
The manga is wrapping up and translating the English.
Yep, the final release, which was released in February, on February 17th, 2026, the final release was released in Japanese. So we're not that far behind, but on May 12th, they released the final English chapter of Jujutsu Kaisen Modelo, which is the sequel. I'm sorry, couldn't remember that. It is the sequel for the other Jujutsu Kaisen. So if you are interested in that and you'd like to read the final and see how everything all ends up, then you can do that. All right, next thing we got up for you here. There's a famous arc that I love, and last time we did this episode, I actually geeked out and dug through my collection. I don't have a lot of comic books, but the ones that I do, I know about, and I freaked Amber out a little bit because Adult Swim is announcing that they are going to go over the Reign of Superman adaptation in My Adventures of Superman Season 3. I don't understand, I like the show. I haven't seen it all, but I like the show, but I don't think in Season 2 Superman dies, so I don't know how they're going to do the Reign of Superman, unless it's because the whole thing about it is Superman's not there, these 4 other people show up, and they're sort of like Superman, but not really, and some are good, some are bad. Don't want to spoil anything, but that's what that is. So somehow it's going to be part of a cartoon. So I thought it was cool. Wanted to share it with the group.
Also, the reason he freaked me out is because he jumped up while we were getting ready for this, and he was like, "Oh, where is it?" And then he couldn't get the box, and he was kind of mad. And then I went to get the box, and then he said, "Yes!"
Yeah, so I actually had, the last time we recorded, and right now, I actually had in my hot little hands the 4 issues at the beginning of the Reign of Superman. There's one of them. So it's just really cool. I can't wait to see how they actually do it, but we'll see. What's next? Oh, wait, that's me too. Sorry. If you are around my age, 46, almost said 45. But if you are around my age, or you were a child in the 80s and 90s, you may have been familiar with the BookIt program. For those of you not aware of what it was a reading program where you read 10 books, you go in, you give documentation to this fact from your parents or from the teacher in school, and you got a coupon for a free personal pan pizza. It was like you were a king for a day. So I got at least a free personal pan pizza every month because I liked pizza. Not so much now, but that's okay. But I thought it was cool, and they're actually bringing BookIt back. Unfortunately, my daughter is a little too old. You have to be 12 or under. So it's from 6 to 12. BookIt is back for you.
I totally would have taken advantage of that, but I wouldn't have gotten pizza.
There's no way around it. It was just the pizza. Everybody else who was there had to pay.
Dang it.
Which is why they did it. All right, next thing we got up for you here now.
Oh, sorry, that was me. Bleach. And with Bleach, I believe, they... Bleach the 1,000-Year Blood War is gearing up for its grand finale later this summer.
So Bleach is an anime that I tried to get Amber into. She didn't like it because of one of the biggest problems with Bleach. What is that?
The fillers. The fillers made you, and you didn't know what they were. So that was one of the first animes I watched. And I didn't know what fillers were. And randomly, out of nowhere, an episode would come out, and I'm like, what is happening? Why did it leave off on such a cliffhanger? And then I can't even see what happens next. And then come to find out it was fillers, and it consistently happened, and I was like, alright, I'm done. So I've not gone back to that in, I want to say, 3 years.
Okay, I stuck it through. I actually watched every single episode, 300 and some odd episodes of the original Bleach anime. It ended after a very specific arc, but the thing is, it had already caught up to the manga that it was based on by Taita Kubo, and they didn't want to go off the rails. They wanted the manga to complete the correct way. They wanted him to complete his project, so they ended it there. And then as they moved on, the next arc is long, and it is gorgeous, and it is unbelievable. It is really in-depth. It is called the 1,000-Year Blood War, which, things are serious when you have a 1,000-year blood war. I mean, I've heard of a 100-year blood war, but never 1,000. So anyway, they are releasing the final season. What they did for the 1,000-Year Blood War anime is they planned out all 4 seasons. And they said, there's no filler. We're going to stick to the story, and they're going to go right through it. And it was great.
All I can think of is how long that probably is, because if it's the 1,000-year, it just makes me think of, like, it's probably going to take me a while for One Piece. It's just...
Yes, I mean, fairly frequently on this show, we do talk about One Piece, and we usually announce where we are, but Amber's a little bit upset.
I'm not upset. I just don't have a bunch of time right now.
Okay, moving right along, the next little thing. If you've heard of Lego concepts or Lego ideas, it's where an unaffiliated designer builds something that has never been built before, or an homage to something, and then they submit it to Lego saying, hey, make this a set. And Lego culls through them, and the group votes, like everybody on Lego Ideas votes, and some of the most popular ones get made. So there is a really cool steampunk-looking telescope that is potentially coming down the pike. I would love this, and the coolest thing about it is in the viewfinder at the very back, there are 4 individual things that you can change so that your telescope could show you a spaceship, a remote island, the moon and some stars, or a pirate ship. I'd go with the pirate ship, personally.
Kind of knew you'd say it.
Yo-ho. All right. Moving right along, what's the next thing we got for you, Amber?
Hope I say this right. Aquaponics?
Very good.
Okay. Aquaponics is the science or practice of having a complete system where fish feed plants, plants grow from nutrients, the fish live in the water. It is done without soil. What do they have, Ambler?
They used to have an aquaponics setup or lab at Ambler, and it was really cool. And I know if anybody listens to this and actually knows about aquaponics, we left out a couple steps. It is a very complex process. There's things that decay, there's other things that do different things, and it all works together in harmony. But the one thing that I took away from the couple times that I visited the lab was that all of the pieces had to be together. So like the water had to flow from where the fish were to where the plants were so that you could feed the plants. Like that's the entire situation. So that's what what I was kind of struck with this thing. First of all, the tank for fish is incredibly small compared to the amount of plants they have, and there's a lot of fish in there. I don't know that I'd want a fish that's swimming around in that much filth. But the biggest problem I see with this design is that the plants and the fish are separate. I mean, maybe there's a system under the ground. I don't know. Thought it was cool. We wanted to pass it along. The next little thing that we got for you here, I know we're whiplashing you all over the internet today, but higher ed is under attack. This story is even older than it was the last time I told it. But basically, a group of Pokemon-themed hackers named Shiny Hunters got into Instructure, the people who own Canvas. Canvas is a learning management tool that is used by over 9,000 educational institutions across the country, world, I'm unsure. But they had 9,000 clients that were affected by this. Shiny Hunters got in there. They stole massive amounts of data. The only good thing was that they didn't steal a lot of PII, personally identifiable information. They stole names, which is personally identifiable, I guess. I mean, you are Amber, right?
Maybe.
Okay. So, but they stole names, they stole grades, they stole private messages between people on the system, and they threatened to release everything. So the company actually paid the ransom. And in some form or another, we don't know. They haven't made anything public, but they found a way and they locked out the Shiny Hunters. I mean, this is really a big problem because students at all of these different institutions, we're talking probably hundreds of thousands of students, if not millions, got messages saying that they thought they locked us out, but we're still here. Ha 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 ha. And so, but they paid them, which kind of gives me a little bit of a pause, because if you're going to pay the ransom, And yes, everything worked out and they deleted all the data, but aren't you just basically asking for it to happen again? Because look, this guy actually paid. All right. Still talking about colleges. What do we got?
So, a college student can stop your trains, and they're not very secure. So maybe we should change the password quicker. A Taiwanese college student used radios and publicly available software to broadcast emergency commands, which stopped 4 high-speed trains on the tracks. Which, I believe that's a big problem, because why would you have a college student allowed to actually stop the train?
And the thing is that's really annoying about it is that it could have been literally anyone. So, like, he used publicly available data and publicly shared information from 19 years ago. And using those systems, he was able to get in and stop 4 trains dead set on the track. That's it. They weren't moving. First of all, I'd be really irritated if I was on the train. But, I mean, if let's just say he stops a train at one station and the train behind it's not stopping. They're moving pretty quick. That could have been a major problem, even more so than it already is.
Yeah, and also, why is your stuff not updated after 19 years?
Yeah, that's older than you.
Yeah.
All right, the next thing that we got for you here today, you got to sing it.
No. No.
You're not going to sing it?
No. So there's a video that we attached, which is a tectonic plate, which we all learned about this in grade school, or even in high school if you didn't learn in grade school. Basically, it's when the Earth moves and the 2 plates underneath slide. And in this video, you can see clear as day that the Earth did shift, and usually you don't see that.
I mean, yeah, it moved like 1.5 feet. And it's like, this is a very boring security camera footage. It's like a gate somewhere, and it just so happens to be right next to it. But the reason I wanted her to sing was because all I could think about is, I feel the earth move under my feet. All right, Amber, what's next?
I'm not singing that ever.
Yes, you will.
I will not. Telling you now. Sorry, I'm trying to find it. It is at Harvard. They're having a lot of people get straight A's. About 2/3 of the graduates are having perfect GPAs, and they're trying to limit the ability to get a solid 4.0 to only 20% of the class. And they're trying to say that their classes are hard enough. Honestly, in my opinion, I don't think your classes are hard enough if 2/3 of the graduates are getting straight A's.
But then again, it is supposed to be one of the best schools in the country, and I guess you got to be a smarty to the party to get in, or you got to know somebody. But, I mean, even that, so they're actually going to allow courses to give a grade point average. There's also going to be satisfactory, unsatisfactory, and satisfactory plus. It just seems ridiculous. And the biggest problem I have, let's just say you got student A and student B. They both do and answer all the questions in math correctly. Math should not have multiple answers for things. It can in certain instances. But, like, what happens if student A gets the perfect grade and student B, they just did okay? Like, wouldn't you feel a little bit put upon?
I mean, I don't know.
All right, now the next little thing, going back to Lego, because I love me some Lego. There's a trend going around on a bunch of different websites called Will It Falcon. What's that mean? It means taking a completely unrelated set of Legos, and they have tons of them. Like tons of examples of these things. Like there's the Statue of Liberty, there's a flamingo. I know my mother has a flamingo. She can turn it into the Millennium Falcon from Star Wars. So I need to get her on that right away.
I don't know if she will. She likes them too much.
she really does like flamingos. But I thought it was cool, so we not only have the Threads post that originally introduced me to it, but we also have a article about it, and you can see some of the other fun ones there as well. All right, moving right along. Next thing we got for you, is this aliens or is this yawns? So they've declassified a whole bunch of stuff about the search for the explanation of UAPs, UFOs. It depends on the decade you're in, what they call the stuff, but basically stuff they have pictures and experiences of that they don't understand and they can't explain. So this happens so frequently that the government hears a lot of stuff. Hey, this stuff we can't explain. So they said, you know what we should do? We should create a department just to study that stuff. In the 1950s and 60s, it was Project Blue Book. That's not just a fun TV show. But I also had a class in aliens where we went through, yes, I know, it is really interesting, and we were told at the beginning of the class it is the only accredited course in the United States that talks about aliens. Sometime I'll talk about it. It was a really cool course. But like, so they released this trove of information about the recent investigations into the unidentified aerial phenomenon and other things like that. They didn't have any explanations. There are no little green men in any of the files. So there's two camps online. One, the camp that says, is there anything out there at all? And then the other camp says, yes, but they're hiding it. So what do you think it is, Amber?
I don't know. I honestly, to me, it sounds like people could really just have messed with the whatever and been like, they'll totally think it's an alien.
But I mean, like, there's, okay, using a little knowledge from the course, there are examples and reports of things flying around in the sky for a couple hundred years.
How do we know that wasn't from the astronauts already up there?
A couple hundred years?
I don't know, man.
Astronauts, like, that's like 60s and on.
Oh. Whoops.
That's okay. All right, moving right along. The next little thing is something Amber is very interested in. It's Roblox.
Yep. A mother of a 13-year-old is suing Roblox for deliberately building a billion-dollar empire on the unpaid and underpaid labor of children. So, to me, my question is, did she not know that all of these games are basically programmed by other people? No one gets paid, obviously. The only way they get paid is from the Robux that you pay to get. And making all of these games, it's basically just a test run for if you're going to do something better or if you're just bored and want to do something.
Yeah, I love programming. It holds a near and dear heart in my spot in my heart, not heart in my heart. And I love the fact that it teaches people. I was unaware that it actually teaches people how to code, and I thought that was really cool. I see both sides of this situation, though, because on one hand, they are making bank on Robux and other stuff, but on the other hand, I could see them saying, yes, but they don't have to do this. This kid spent over 40 hours a week between the ages of 11 and 13 and programmed tons of games and stuff like that, and his mom got upset. So why are you letting your son spend 40 hours a week on unpaid coding? If he's good enough to code games, maybe he could do it for himself and make his own game.
Yeah, maybe on like a completely different thing. Like, I don't know what you want. I know you want to have something back for your son's time spent on it, but you shouldn't, because your son knew, or he didn't, and...
No, I mean, the only thing in their favor is the fact that he was 11 when he got his account. The account was created without any adult knowing about it. So, and when you're under 13, you are not legally allowed to sign a contract. You could go over to an 8-year-old and they could say, I'm going to give you $6 million. And they have like an official contract. Anybody else signs it, you're getting $6 million. 6-year-old signs it, you're not getting anything.
Yeah.
So, I don't know. All right, the next thing we have here is another near and dear topic to my heart. I love stationery, pens, and everything else that has to do with that. And I was addicted to buying notebooks for the longest time. I've backed off a little bit because I have a lot of them now. But my favorite notebooks are called field notes. And they're these tiny little pocket notebooks that always have different designs on them and everything. And this is kind of cool because FNC 70, which is the latest release, the spring limited edition, is called what, Amber?
Lucky.
It's called Lucky. I know, she's so bored when I talk about notebooks, but she's used them.
I used them once when I was younger because I thought I was really cool if I did. And then I use it now for workouts.
Okay, so what they're doing is it's called Lucky because they're doing an homage to the penny. So there are 3 different colors of book. There's a rose, there's a brown, and there's the patina green. So these are the 3 different life cycles of copper. You can find copper in any of those 3 colors. There's iconography on the back of them that pulls some of the design elements out of the original ones. So I just thought it was really cool. If you have $14, you can get 3. There you go. You head on over to fieldnotesbrand.com. All right, next little thing that we got for you here. Unfortunately, the website is down, but that's okay. We know what we're talking about. Nintendo Legend is actually retiring. This is a huge thank you to the gentleman Takashi Tezuka. He is a long-time Nintendo employee. In fact, he's considered one of the big 3. So in addition to Miyamoto and some other guy that I can't remember off the top of my head right now, I mean, he's obviously big because I can't remember him. But he started in the company in 1984. Also, fun fact, Amber, did you know that Nintendo, the company, is a lot older than you think?
Really?
That they originally started making playing cards over 100 years ago. So you could have had Nintendo playing cards in like 1902.
Oh, God.
Anyway, that's neither here nor there. This gentleman was heavily involved in Super Mario. He's been there since Super Mario Brothers, and he was on the team that worked on the first Legend of Zelda game. So you are talking about a hero in Nintendo, and he's retiring. So thank you very much for all of the hours of gameplay and controllers that were broken over you. But I thought it was really cool. So if the site comes back up, you can read the whole thing and see his full resume, CV. But it's kind of cool. And that about wraps it up here for the Geek Cruft section at the CaffiNation podcast. We have something coming up next, but in case you are listening to this on some streaming platform like Spotify, which you can find us on, YouTube Music, which you can find us on, and I believe Amazon as well. So there's a whole bunch of them that we've been signing up to and trying to track. So pretty much anywhere you can get your podcast, you can find us. And you can find this and all of its episodic brethren over at CaffiNation.com. CaffiNation.com.
Or the CaffiNation.
That's for the socials.
Well, still works.
Yep. All right.
Before we get into this next bit, it's called the Food and Caffeinated Bits, which, if you have a minute or a second, while you're listening to this, go get a cup of coffee.
That is always a good advice. Doesn't matter day or night, you need some caffeination.
Yep.
All right, the first story we got up here is how high you pour your water when you're doing a pour-over actually affects the taste of the final coffee. And they're saying that you need to raise the pot that you're pouring from up high enough so that the symmetrical stream of water does not break apart and go into tons of little droplets. You want it to be a perfect stream. So if you can get that up 18 inches, go for it. The higher up you have, the deeper into the grounds that actually the water churns, and it does so in a simple fashion, goes down straight in the middle, then goes up and around, and keeps mixing the grounds, and you get a better extraction, which means you get a better tasting coffee. I still think it's kind of crazy, but it's kind of neat.
Next up is actually with me talking about it. It is called the Sea Shanty from Understudio. And here it is. Oh, give us a second.
himself the pot of coffee, but the coffee did not awaken him, so he drank more and more. Soon then anxiety comes, buzzing, jittering vibrations. Now cause of CaffiNation, he's just anxious and tired. There once was a man that was...
And it repeats. It is awesome. I saw it when I was scrolling around on Facebook, and I was like, you know what? Not only does he say CaffiNation, and our name is our address, but it's just a fun little thing. Head on over there. The animations that Understudio does are really cool. They're really kind of adorable, I would say, because that was actually a tiny little mushroom singing. And what else do you want? You don't want mushroom coffee. That's weird. You want a mushroom singing about coffee, right, Amber?
Yeah, but what if you have a mushroom mug with coffee inside?
Okay, that would be fine too. We could Smurf it up.
Yeah.
Technically, we have a mushroom mug because I have a Smurf mug.
Oh, that's true, but it's a birthday one.
Yeah, I know. I used it this year.
Oh, did you?
Yes, I did. All right, next up, what do we got? How fancy are you? Are you fancy enough for hand-blown crystal glasses? You might be. But are you fancy enough for hand-blown crystal whiskey tumblers that have a fragment of a 4.6 billion-year-old meteorite inside the base? I am not that fancy, but if I had $200 and I was the kind of person who could just drop $200 on whiskey glasses, this would definitely be coming home with me. There's two different styles that they have. One is gold, one is silver. I would be getting the silver, and they just look amazing. First of all, just the cachet of having something that is older than the planet is pretty cool. All right, moving right along. Amber's not thrilled with that. What do we got now?
A KitchenAid launches its first smart thermometer, meaning while you're cooking all of the food with the meat part of it. You know how you use a thermometer to see if it's ready or not? I really don't. But that's besides the point.
We've been sick for days.
No, we haven't. Basically, you would put the thermometer on the meat, and then your phone would get a message when it's done. So you can just go over and take the thermometer out and then turn the stove off.
I mean, I like the idea, but at the same point in time, like, there's a certain I don't know. There's a certain fun when you're going at things and trying to do it. Although my friend Dave would really get upset with me because he had so many food safety classes, it's ridiculous. So, but yeah, he would always use a meat thermometer. But that's pretty cool. Moving right along, the next thing that we got up for you here, we have not one, but two.
Coffee travels.
Yes, we visited 2 cafes since the last time this show aired, way back when, on May 3rd. Oh man, we are late. But the first one up is in the Villas, New Jersey. We went to visit our friends, and
Not we.
I'm sorry. My wife and I went, and one of the things that my wife and I like to do, in addition to bringing Amber with us sometimes,
sometimes is an understatement.
Yes.
It's most of the time.
Okay. We like visiting new coffee shops, and we really don't usually visit chains or anything, even though we do like a Starbucks from time to time. But what we do is we try and find like these little mom and pop cafes that are really like doing good for the community. That's one of the things that I love about these smaller cafes, and it's something you don't get. So this is a really cool one. It's called Bravado Coffee Cafe. And if you look at the outside of it, it looks like any other building down the Jersey Shore. It has like the light accents, it has a light siding on it, and it doesn't look like anything much. But on the inside, it looks like an old school Hard Rock cafe. There is music memorabilia everywhere, and it is just cool. And on top of all this, and you know, I think Amber and I have talked about this a couple times, but it doesn't matter how cool the place is if the coffee doesn't taste good.
That is very true. I will not disclose which one I didn't really like, but one of them I didn't really like, but it looked cool.
Yeah, it really did, unfortunately. I just happened to think they were having a bad day, and I didn't want to do anything about it.
Yeah, the next coffee travel is Ellie and Bird Coffee Bar. This one was actually pretty nice because I was recommended it by one of my friends in school. We were talking about coffee one day. She told me to visit here. So we did. And when I tell you it was amazing, my mom even said it rivals Starbucks for her, which that's a big step to say.
My wife has only been drinking coffee for a couple years now. I finally wore her down.
I did.
Yes. All right. Amber wore her down because Amber drinks sweetened coffee and I just drink black.
Not anymore.
I know. Now she's on my side. But Ellie and Bird in the Port Richmond section of Philadelphia is a fun neighborhood cafe. And if you read any of my articles recently, you know that the thing that I enjoy the most about these neighborhood cafes is the fact that they're trying to be a third place. They're trying to be, you could either be at work or you could be home, but there needs to be some in-between place where you can still meet people from the community. And not only is Ellie and Bird a good third place, but they lean into it by having third place Tuesdays third place Thursdays, I think. But it's just really cool. And on top of that, they also drink some of the best coffee, or they serve some of the best coffee, rather.
Yes, they do. I had a shaken espresso from here, and they had their own little mix of a syrup, and it was really good.
My wife got what she always gets, a vanilla or French vanilla, depending on where we are, cold brew. And it's the same order every time, so it's much the same way as I always get a regular cold brew and a shot of espresso off to the side. This way you know what you're getting, and you know if it's a good version of what it is that you've come to expect. And my wife raved about this vanilla cold brew. She said, first of all, there's, to her palate, a lot of coffees that are out there have a sour taste to them. She really doesn't like that. It tends to be coffee that's on the medium to lighter roast of things, so she does like darker roast, figured that out, started giving her more dark roast coffee. But, they need to be good, and it needs to be mellow and sweet. And this place did something that a lot of other places that we've been to, I mean, again, all of the coffee that we've had so far that we've talked about has been good, right?
Yes.
Okay. But, yes, it's all been good, but there's things that set other places apart. And one of the things that is really dead simple is when you order an espresso, certain kinds of coffee are good for espresso. Certain kinds of coffee are good for cold brew. So just to give you an example, their espresso was really bright, a little sour, and it had a citrus note with some floral hints. If you moved over to the cold brew, not only did my cold brew need absolutely no sweetener, I mean, it was just coffee and water married lovingly together, but it had notes of chocolate. It was a different coffee because it would perform better in that form factor. I highly recommend, if you are wandering around the Port Richmond section of Philadelphia, stop by Ellie and Bird. They are a good place.
Also, if you have a friendly dog, you can also bring them.
Yep. Love dog places, safe places.
Mm-hmm.
All right, next little thing that we got up for you here. Yes, you too can eat like a king. I am all about archaeology, and we find a way to cram it into every show, I swear. But this tickled me, and I absolutely love this. First of all, did you know there was a real King Midas? I did, but I didn't know a whole lot about him. And he did not have a golden touch, so that's a little apocryphal story. But this gentleman really lived in central Turkey in the late 8th and early 7th century BC, so BCE. So, he was a real guy. And they found remnants of his funeral feast. And what archaeologists did is they ran analyses on the different vessels that were used to serve the dishes at King Midas's funeral, and they recreated the food. That is so cool. I actually went to a lecture when I was 10. My grandfather took me to one at University of Penn, which we love that story, don't we? Or we love that place, don't we? University of Penn Museum?
Yes, we do. I was trying to figure out what he was talking about for a second.
That's okay. But and they were talking about analyzing jars that were in temples, and they actually came up with a recipe and managed to brew ancient beer. if I'm wrong or if I'm correct, I think it was called Ninkasi. I didn't get to try it. I was 10. They didn't have any there either. But it was just really cool that this was actually for sale, and it was like several thousand-year-old beer. So you too can eat like King Midas if you go on over to the story on X. All right, that about wraps it up for the food and caffeinated bits section here at the CaffiNation podcast.
Stay caffeinated, but also, before we go, there's a final thought.
All right, this is something that I really feel strongly about, but we know as the years have been getting hotter with climate change and whatnot, that different crops perform better when things are hotter and when things are cooler. Some crops have a very specific temperature range and a range of the amount of moisture that they need in the soil in order to grow correctly. One of those very finicky plants is coffee, specifically Coffea arabica, which happens to be 95% of the best coffee we drink is Coffea arabica. So in this, they're trying to find drought and heat resistant coffee, and they think they found a single version that they've been looking for. So this version of coffee is called Stenophila. It is found primarily in Sierra Leone, and the researcher Daniel Saruma jumped on a motorbike and rode across the country and tried to see if this plant was still in existence, because the last time it had been cataloged in the wild was 1954. So if you'd like to find out more about his journey and whether or not we're going to be able to drink coffee in a couple years, you can head on over to that link in the show notes. But that about wraps it up here today, Amber.
Yep. So, stay caffeinated, and we'll see you next time.